Today. It's Friday. I'm Wendy Kalergis, President and CEO of the Greater Miami and the Beaches Hotel Association. And just always a pleasure for me to welcome everyone to see and watch our webinar partnership with FIU. I got to tell you, I don't know where I would be without FIU. We've been doing so much together. Excuse me, I have to show you my mug. So much together since the beginning of the virus that we're very grateful for the partnership. Want to give a shout out to Dean Chang as well, and Mike Hampton for kind of like beginning to talk about this series that we're really proud to have, the Technology and Hospitality webinar series. And today the topic is how IoT and AI will reshape the hotel and restaurant industry. I just wanted to also thank our sponsor and one of our members and one of our panelists, Shannon McCallum, Vice President of Hospitality for Volan Technology. Shannon's out in Vegas. And we were just taking notes on what's going on across the country and across the world. And thank you, Shannon, so much for your sponsorship. We really appreciate it. And please be sure to register for our next webinar on Friday, November 13th, The New World of Technology and Hospitality and Tourism Post-COVID. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator, Dale Gomez. Today, Dale is the Assistant Teaching Professor and Director of IT and Adaptive Learning at Florida International University's Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. Dale has also taken the role of Online Learning Administrator and Global Technology Liaison for the university. Dale's information technology experience spans over 20 years. His primary responsibilities include providing technical leadership and support in the implementation of desktop administrative computing, networking management, media services, and enterprise systems for the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management. He is a member of the Faculty Senate Technology Committee and a board member of the FIU's Information Technology Administrators Committee, whose focus is the development of the computing initiatives that support university-wide technological advancements. In 2014, Dale was named top 10 heads of higher education by Tech Decisions and was awarded the 2014 Best Integrators Award for the school's Wine Spectator Restaurant Management Lab. Congratulations, Dale. And Dale, by the way, was born in Trinidad and Tobago and currently resides in Cooper City, Florida. Thank you, Dale, for your expertise, your intellect, and your fun. Great sense of humor, and looking forward to the series today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for that awesome intro, Wendy. Thank you. And thank you to the panelists for being here today. And I'll get to you guys shortly. So as Wendy stated, we're going to talk a little bit about the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence and how it's going to really and truly affect / help and reshape the hotel and restaurant industry. And I have a little intro of what we're going to cover in this actual panel itself. And then I will get into our panelists, and then I have a couple of questions that we're going to ask our panelists, and then we'll get to some Q&A from the audience itself. So COVID-19 obviously has affected every sector across the globe, and the hospitality industry is among the hardest hit. The truth is, the pandemic is temporary, and as a result, we should continue to plan for the future, as well as take steps to reduce long-term damage from the coronavirus and drive a faster recovery. One of the most significant obstacles the hospitality industry will have to overcome is regaining guest confidence in the safety, health, hygiene standards maintained by both hotels and restaurants. Technologies such as IoT, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence, AI, can be vital as they can reduce the physical human interactions. Hotels can enhance customer experience by using beacons for providing digital check-in and check-out, keyless room entries, in-room devices, wayfinding, and a bunch of other myriad of different pieces of technology. On the other side, hotels and restaurants can gain customer insights, offering loyalty programs, monitoring equipment, broadcasting of location-specific offers like proximity marketing, improving staff productivity and inventory control. I know it's a lot there, but this is a huge gamut of information, and we could spend not just 1 hour, but days talking about. So we're going to try and condense this down as much as possible. So the panelists that we have 3 panelists with us. Our first panelist is Andy Lim. Say hi, Andy.
Hi.
There he is. Andy is currently the CEO of AdMe Inc., one of the first US companies to provide contactless ordering and smart QR codes, which is codes that embed location geotags. This cutting edge technology, coupled with AdMe's seamless point of sale system, is the perfect solution for hospitality industry in this increasingly contactless world. This is not Andy's first venture, as he's been in and out of the hospitality technology realm for a while. He was previously the founder and CEO of Lavu Inc., who created the first iPad point of sale for restaurants back in 2010. Lavu is currently used by thousands of businesses in over 80 countries. In 2015, Andy led a $15 million Series A for Lavu to quickly scale the company itself. At the time of Lim's resignation, Lavu employed over 80 people. Lavu was featured in various media such as the Wall Street Journal, CNN, and Kitchen Nightmares. So Andy, just say hi and thank you for being here as a panelist for us.
Thank you for inviting us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our second panelist is Shannon McCullum. She is the Vice President of Hospitality for Volant Technology and is currently responsible for leading the company's hospitality division. She maintains exceptional business standards for client experience, talent development, sales, and financial performance, while building strong and lasting relationships with Volant's partners, associates, and management teams. Shannon brings more than 30 years of experience in the hospitality industry throughout the US and Canada, and with some of the industry's largest and most respectable brands. She most recently served as the Vice President of Operations for both Aria Resort and Casino and Vidara Hotel and Spa as part of a nearly 10 years with MGM International in Las Vegas. She also spent 15 years with Fairmont Hotels and Resorts in several management and executive roles with a world-renowned luxury brand. She currently serves as the chair of the Nevada Hotel and Lodging Foundation and is the member of the Hospitality Finance Technology Professionals Association, HFTP. She also sits on the High Tech Education Sessions Development Committee, which was the High Tech Conference was last week, as stated earlier, and was a member of the Forbes Travel Guide Standards Advisory Council, representative Global Gaming Properties. She was also recognized as Hotelier of the Year for the state of Nevada back in 2015. So Shannon, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. And rounding out our panel, we have Ruben Martinez. Ruben is the past president of HFD South Florida back in 2006, 2007. He has an impressive and extensive background in information technology with a particular focus in the hospitality industry. Serving in the armed forces and working in administration early in his professional career, he evolved to lead and manage the IT and telecommunications functions of some of the country's top hotels, including a couple of South Florida's most prestigious and progressive properties. Ruben's professional experience includes Director of IT for the Fontainebleau Miami Beach, the Director of IT and Telecommunications for the Mandarin Oriental in Miami, the Director of MIS for the Four Seasons Hotel in Washington, D.C., and a systems analyst for the Four Seasons Resort in Avaria, North San Diego. Ruben is currently the president of HGIC, that's Head Geek in Charge, an IT firm specializing in outsourcing, consulting, and support with a niche in hotel openings, and is dedicated to delivering exceptional service and support. So Ruben, thank you for being here as well.
Thank you, Dale. It was a pleasure to be part of the panel.
Awesome. So as I stated at the beginning, I have a series of questions that I have written to ask our panelists. It should be a pretty intuitive back and forth between the four of us. I forgot to mention that Andy also has one of his subject experts here as well, and that's Daniel Ali, and he will be jumping in, I'm sure, to aid with some of the terminology and some of the different things that they're doing as it relates to frictionless everything and so forth. So our first question that I have here, hi Daniel, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Our first question goes to Ruben, sir. So in general, the hospitality industry has been slow to adopt new technologies. And as we all know in the industry, in the hospitality industry, we tend to be anywhere between 7 and 10 years behind other business sectors And because of obviously the pandemic, things have shifted slightly with us. Tell me really quick, how will the current pandemic affect new hotel technologies moving forward?
Dale, so what I'm seeing right now is with new hotel openings, where once upon a time, as you mentioned, hotels were slow to implement the technology. What I see now is not just the hotels implementing the technology, but the customers being more open. So I come from the luxury market where it's such a high touch point where the guest service is ready, is available there. Now you're seeing less of that, but more technology. For example, you're seeing a kiosk for check-in or checking in through your app and bypassing the front desk completely. So I see a lot of that technology evolving right now and becoming more open to the customer, where before it was just not even, it was frowned upon because we're in the hospitality industry and we want to offer that hospitable service. So I see that trend moving towards that. And if you look at what happens with our children, they're the next customers, right? They are on their phones, they're on their tablets, they're on the devices. Those are their next customers. Those are the customers of the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to check in using Snapchat, because that's how I talk to my kids.
No, absolutely. You know, I was on a panel yesterday with the Rosewood Hotel Group, and I think he was the director of technology for the properties, and he was stating that normally it would take them anywhere between 6 months to 12 months just to get up administration, you know, to get their acceptance into the fact that they want to move towards something new. And because of the pandemic, it's gone from 6 to 12 months now to a couple of weeks where acceptance is right there. So you see them actually starting to move a lot quicker in terms of pushing technology out. So just to follow up on this question, or as a part two to it, do you think there's going to be a massive spike in the hotel technology evolution?
Absolutely. We're seeing it right now. We can't do it fast enough. If a hotel wants to conduct business, they have to be in compliance with these different the technologies. For example, menus are now QR codes. If you're going to pay, you're going to pay at the table.
I think we lost Ruben there for a sec. He just jumped up, but he started talking about QR codes, and I could actually probably have Andy and Daniel jump right in, because I know that's one of the things that they're well into and versed in.
If you don't have that.
Wait, sorry, Ruben, you cut off there for a second.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what part I cut off, but basically if a hotel wants to operate or a restaurant wants to operate today, right now, they need to have this technology implemented right now.
Right. Right. Andy and Danny, you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you guys are doing, what ADMI is doing in terms of contactless technology, the statement I said earlier, which, you know, we're moving towards frictionless everything.
You know, it's funny because we actually doing QR code back. I mean, QR code is not a new technology. It's been around for a long, long time. We've been using it, but one thing that struck me is like a lot of actually when you guys go to say any Asian country, they utilize a lot of QR code. I'm not sure why it wasn't never take off in the US. I think the point is probably because of the credit card that we have or whatnot. I'm not very sure about it, but it just never took off. Right. I think the shift start changing once iPhones actually allow you to do QR code on camera. Google start doing that too. So that's starting to shift because people don't want to download app anymore. So I introduced that QR code to you, Dale. What is that? 2 years, a year and a half ago?
Oh, that was 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, I told you about it, and we said we probably gonna go down this route, and we just start doing it really like maybe about a year ago, and then it just so happened that COVID happened, and right now in this kind of situation, so the QR code really is not new, but it just have a lot of uses that nobody really applying to it, like, you know, location aware QR code, be able to embed most information in there. You can actually scan the QR code and actually go into a Wi-Fi without knowing the SSID or the Wi-Fi password. I did that at my house a long time ago. Right. You can actually scan the QR code and get my contact information without giving you a business card. So there's a lot of utilization of that, but nobody really utilizing it, is what I'm saying. Daniel, you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, except for the couple of concept trials that we're coming up with in the hotels, we are bringing basically a virtual room service to the hotels where the restaurants deliver. There will be a QR code in each room, and also on the key when the client checks in, and also when the guest, when the guest gets on the hotel Wi-Fi. A link will pop up. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing with neighboring restaurants that deliver themselves to the lobby. So no contact, everything's done, no delivery fees also, since they are delivering. So it's a very interesting project that we're working on, also because the hotels are super happy with it, because it's non-amenity hotels or low amenity hotels, the ones that don't have room service. The customers love it. And it's the start. And then there's just a lot of different ways we can use this technology.
Right. I think the key thing that Andy had stated was the fact that, it's about customer acceptance. And prior to the integration in the mobile phones with the camera, you had to have an app, and we're inundated with the amount of apps that are available to us. And we kind of want to streamline that to some degree. So being that it has become part of the standard package, it makes it, the customer acceptance piece anyways is there. And I think it kind of got thrusted into the what's happening now with the pandemic, where exactly.
I think one other thing too is that on top of that, you just always have to figure out the win-win in terms of the customer, the hotel, and the restaurant. How do you make it a win? Right now, the restaurant has to pay 20 to 30% to pay to Grubhub or DoorDash, and then hotel might have to pay to a restaurant or whatever to get them to the delivery. Customer has to pay the delivery fee, and sometimes they have to pay on top of that the item price that they increase. A lot of people don't know about it. If you order from DoorDash or Grubhub, you're actually paying a lot more. You're not just paying the delivery fee, you're paying increase of item price in your order. So we actually design a situation where it's a win for the restaurant, because they don't pay a delivery fee at all, or delivery service at all, and the customer doesn't pay delivery fee, just a transaction fee. And the hotel, they get they don't have to have a restaurant in the hotel and maintain that high cost right now. And everything is doing through contactless and super seamless.
Right.
That's the idea.
Right. Awesome. Fantastic. All right. We'll probably jump back into a little bit in terms of restaurants shortly, but I want to move a little bit into contact tracing. So this question is for Shannon. What are some of the tools available for contact tracing? And if you can, discuss how these tools work, what sort of technologies are used to, in terms of the data retrieval, how that's done, what are the different aspects of getting that information out to our clients, and then, of course, our guests.
Well, that's a great question. Contact tracing has really proven to be a very complicated task for hotels, for schools, and for businesses. Many locations are doing manual contact tracing right now, which of course depends on the memory of the individual, the employee that you're talking to, and they have to go back 2 weeks and think about situations that are 15 minutes or less. Now you've got inaccurate memories of who a person interacted with, or they're not completely forthright, giving all of the interactions that they had for whatever reason. It's very time consuming, and it's not prioritized by risk, by who is most at risk. And it's extremely costly. In Las Vegas, we had one large hotel that we talked to, and they had over 40 managers doing contact tracing. And even at a low estimate of $60,000 a year, you're looking at $2.4 million for contact tracing that you didn't have to pay before. So it truly is something that is not removing the risk from the work environment. It can take up to 6 to 7 days in order to get the information you need and to isolate people. And again, it's about reducing risk for employees and for guests. Now, there are some tools in place that will help to address that. I've heard us talk about apps a couple of times already, and really the reluctance of people to add an app to their phone. It's a privacy issue. I know when I shop online, the next day I'm getting like messages popping up telling me of my favorite store that I'm shopping at, and my car that I drive probably knows that I'm tailgating people, and that'll come to bite me in the butt at some point in the future. But really the success of apps is all about adoption percentage. And I know in the state of Nevada, we've got over 3.8 million people that live here, and there's low double-digit percentages of people that have downloaded the app. So for a business, a hotel, a school to depend on the app, not only do you have to download it and opt in, you also need to have it open and running on your phone. And that's something, if your battery's running down, what is the first thing you do? You close all of your apps in order to save your battery. And also in states like ours, like Florida and in Nevada, 80% of our visitors are from out of state. So you're not necessarily capturing all of the visitors because they may have a California app or a Georgia app, and they're not going to download the app from the state. So that's a big concern as well, in addition, again, to the privacy. Now, there are other devices out there, GPS and Bluetooth apps. And GPS is truly meant for outdoor wayfinding. It's going from point A to point B on a map. It's not really for granular analytics. And really, in order to be effective, especially indoors for an employee environment where you're trying to do contact tracing, it's just really not effective. And navigating through the vertical aspect of many of our buildings that have many floors can be very challenging. Now, the Bluetooth apps can indicate when you're within 6 feet, but it doesn't calculate the frequency or duration of interactions, which is what the CDC guidelines are all about. Now, a system like ours that uses beacons provides you with a very, very precise indoor geolocation platform. And that platform tracks and stores location data in an encrypted environment because, of course, privacy is really important. And ours is a BLE5 mesh, which I know sounds complicated, except for those people on the panel. But it truly is like getting into your car and having your BLE connect, like Ruben is right now, to your car, and then disconnect when you leave the car. So when employees leave property, if they're taking the devices with them, you don't have to worry about privacy. And that was something that's really important, not only for employees, but for teachers and schools as well. Now, should a COVID case happen and be reported, by the press of a button due to the analytics platform, you can go through thousands of employees to be able to determine who is at risk for how long and be able to contact them. Now, it's not an automatic contact. You can export it in a PDF or a Tableau file to be able to share it with the health authorities, but it allows you to be able to eliminate risk in the workplace instantaneously. So, and really it's all about data and using data to be able to provide assurances that we're keeping our work environment safe and our guest environment safe. Awesome. And I would say one more thing is that the CDC guidelines just this last week changed, and it was 15-minute interactions or more that they were doing contact tracing for. It's now a combination of multiple interactions that could add up to 15 minutes. So really trying to do that manually is increasingly difficult, and there's simply not the resources available to keep up with that many people if they're even answering their phone when they're being called.
Awesome. So at FIU here, we when we started going back onto campus or repopulating our campuses, one of the things that the division of IT created was an app to track our, if we were on campus, where were we? There was geolocation that was involved in it as well, so that as you're checking in, they know exactly where you're at. And the biggest challenge that we had to some degree was that, the privacy issue, having your place of business know exactly where you're at. But it's becoming more, I think, of the norm more than anything else. And you're going to see that more and more with our hotels, especially our hotels and our resorts and so forth. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Very, very well developed answer. I love it. Thank you. This next question is for any one of our panelists, and we could jump in and talk a little bit about it. But do you believe that in-room technology such as tablets, phones, with built-in Android devices, AI devices, not just our voice controls, but anything that could be within that gamut of the AI realm, address sanitation and contactless initiatives?
I'll jump in, Dale. So
Awesome,
I think
great.
it helps, but I don't think it's the only solution. I think it all ultimately falls back on the individual. You know, the individual is responsible for their personal hygiene and whether they're washing their hands and what they're touching. But it definitely helps. I have definitely used Siri more to make phone calls, to send text messages. I am working on a project right now with the Hard Rock. They have a new brand that's launching in November called a Reverb, where they have artificial intelligence now in the room that controls different items in the room, whether it be the lights, whether it be the shades. But now it's all voice controlled and helps with those touch points. You know, I was recently in a hotel in San Francisco where, you know, we were traveling with our teenage daughter and she forgot her toothbrush. Typical teenager. We asked her if she packed everything. We called the front desk and asked for an extra toothbrush. We get a knock on the door about 15 minutes later, but it was a robot. The robot delivered the toothbrush. So I think that technology as well helps where with those it's technology that's being introduced and used to limit those touch points.
Right, right. So one of the questions I get from my students all the time is, do you think this technology is going to replace us? And I continue to tell them that I don't think it's not going to replace us, especially in this industry, because this industry is all about service, you know, people with a smile. It's here to aid in our job. It's here to assist, to be a complement more than anything else. So your example of the robot, which I think is made by Savio, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
That's what it is. It's about having a tool available. In this case, for sure, because of COVID, it fits that contactless, frictionless realm of things. But yes, it is. You're going to see this more and more, I think, being offered in different establishments where customer acceptance might not have been there, you know, or company acceptance to some degree. But you're going to see this happening more and more because of the current situation, I think, that we're in. Anybody
Can
else
I
have
just
thoughts?
add, yeah, I was just going to say, coming from a hospitality background, I think it's about creating different paths that give the guest options, and every guest is going to have a different tolerance for the amount of interaction that they want. Some people will still want to go to the front desk and interact with employees, but many more now may actually use the technology that's been around for a while because they have a different reason now to use it. And their choice necessarily isn't necessarily about service, but it's about safety. So I do think having those tools in the room are important. I also think supplementing them with hand sanitizer and maybe wipes in the room so that they can clean it after they or before they use it to make sure that they feel safe about their interaction with the technology.
No, absolutely. You know, prior to COVID, it was in the industry in these ways, when it comes to technology, it was all about being high tech and high touch. You have to do both really, really well. You can't just do one without the other. Because you're still going to have, like you stated, somebody wants to speak to somebody still wants to use a room key and not some sort of you know, NFC device or RFID device to get into their rooms, you know, so you still have to do that. But because of COVID, and I wrote this down when we were getting ready for this panel a few weeks ago, is we're going from high tech, high touch to high tech, no touch, you know, to some degree. Where we have to limit those human interactions. And again, hospitality thrives on those human interactions. Yeah. So Andy, did you have something else you wanted to add there?
Yeah, actually, you know, I'm in Hawaii right now. I stay in hotel instead of, you know, Airbnb, and people think it's safer or not safer. It's a lot of different experience right now. The hotel is running on a very skeleton crew, to be honest with you, meaning that, you know, it's everything is touchless. They do not want to even go close to your door. I ordered from the app, from the Marriott app. If I want towels, everything is go through the app. You want to extend stay, you go through the app. You know, obviously, you know, if you have the app, so again, you have to download the app. But what if you don't have the app? So, you know, those are the other thing. How do you, a lot of time, like check-in, for example, you know, now you have to schedule people to check in so they don't just come all together, you know. So how do you do that? So I see that there's a lot of you have to implement some kind of technology, and they're working on it, I think, day in and day out right now to try to reopen, and technology just play amazing role. Like maybe they don't have robot yet, so I don't have the experience of the robot, but other than that, I think, you know, even if you want to go to the pool, you have to schedule it now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, I'm gonna go to the pool.
Right. Right.
So
yeah,
it's really crazy. It's a different environment. So I'm not familiar with the hotel technology, but it's definitely changing. That's all I can say.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we're shifting, you know, and this obviously, as it's stated before, and at many different conferences and stuff, is that this could be the new norm of how we're having to deal with things. So,
yeah.
All right, let me jump really quick because this is kind of a bounce off of this question. Is do you think contactless technologies are more about innovation or about safety? This could have kind of somewhat of a two-sided answer to it. Anybody want to hit that one? Go ahead.
I'll jump in with that. I think it used to be about innovation, and I know developing mobile check-in when I was with MGM Resorts was a necessity in order to be able to better the guest experience and cut down check-in lines. And potentially at one point we were capturing 40% of the check-ins on an average day through the mobile system. Now I feel like it's more of a necessity due to the environment and people's concern with interaction. So I do think that it has shifted.
Right. Agreed. Ruben, Andy?
I will say that it's not a question or a matter of or, it's a matter of and. It's technology, innovation, and sanitation. So I think it's both. When we look at the customers of the future, that's I have to tell you, you know, we used to have the Blackberries that were coined crackberries.
Right.
Now, and we look back, we have not gotten better. We've gotten worse. We're so addicted to our phones. There's a beep on my watch, on my Apple Watch. I look at it. There's a beep constantly on my phone. I look at it. I go to bed. It's the first thing I touch and the last thing I touch.
Yeah, just you wait, Ruben. It's gonna implement in your brain soon.
Yeah.
We'll get the chip.
neural link. It's coming, bro.
Yeah. It's true though, what you're saying though, that, you know, and I tell my students all the time as well, is the first thing you do when you wake up after having a great night's sleep is not go to the bathroom. It's to pick up your phone. It's all about push notifications, right? You know?
So I don't see that going away. I see it. Obviously, the innovations there is going to get better. It's going to get more intuitive. You're going to see more come out of it. But there's just so much there, and we're using it so much. But you know, it is helping how we do business. It's amazing how we've been gearing for it, and now we're just using it. Again, the whole artificial intelligence, the Siri, the Alexa, the Google. We were already kind of in that platform. It was kind of like I hate to say, a perfect storm. Because Wendy and I, we've talked about this many times, where we talked about that the customer service will never go away. We'll always have someone checking you in at the front desk. We didn't expect the pandemic, and now the world has changed.
Yeah, we've been thrust into something that initially we were resistant to that change, right? And now we've been forced into.
And here we are.
And here we are, exactly. What's it been? For 9? No, I'm not. Is it 8 months in? Somewhere around there, 7-8 months in. Awesome. All right. Moving on to a little bit more of a restaurant side of things. So I'm going to really tap into Andy and Daniel here a little bit. So restaurant operations are adapting to greater contactless options to demonstrate the commitment to guest health and wellness. But what does contactless really mean for the restaurant industry? I know we've touched on the hotel industry. Let's talk a little bit more about the restaurant industry and where you see it, where you see IoT. We discuss obviously QR codes, artificial intelligence in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, well, first off, Del, thank you again for inviting us. And also, you know, FIU has always been, you know, close to our heart, especially you. You guys are just so innovative. When I first, create the iPad point of sale app, you know, you guys adopted it right away, and it's just incredible how FIU really just spearheaded it.
Thank you.
And thank you for that. No, I think our goal has been the same, right? Our goal is the same. Is how do we make restaurant more successful? If you look at restaurant, there's a few lists, right? There's things that cost saving, right? That's one. How do we make sure that they can run? Because the restaurant margin is very lean, right? Very small. So how do we make sure that they have a cost saving? So instead of buying a $30,000 system, how do we reduce that cost? And in this kind of environment, how do you make sure that they're super seamless and data driven, so that so that instead of restaurant actually managing those things, the technology help them make the right decision, manage it better, and obviously being profitable, right? So that's always been our question. How do we drive that and make sure that our customer, which is restaurant or hotel or whatever, need to be profitable, and how do we drive the customer to them? That's the next thing. So our goal has been that, and that kind of shifted a little bit, obviously, in terms of technology, into contactless right now in this kind of crazy world we living. It just kind of uh, 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 um, how do you say it's a you on the super highway right now, instead of just like walking, you go into the highway whether you want it or not. You have to adopt this technology or you die, right?
Right.
Like with the restaurant right now is, you have to now people are managing like 100 different things, like a Grubhub, DoorDash, whatever, and then they have open table, and then they have the point of sale order, and they have the online order. How do you kind of manage all those things? um, and then how do you make it super seamless? How do you consolidate all in one place? Those just our goal. I think it's not gonna go away, even though in this environment is later on it's gonna disappear. COVID disappear, doesn't matter. It's still gonna continue. People are more relying on this ever now. Just like Ruben saying, it's just people are not gonna get away from this.
No.
This is kind of like our extension now. Like Ruben, I dare you, put this down for a day. You cannot do it. You cannot do it. You do not know what to do,
No.
right? So it's just those things. I think that's gonna be the driver, and however we utilize this through Bluetooth, through QR code, in the future, through you might bring your Alexa with you all the time. Who knows? So that's gonna happen no matter what. So that's kind of our take on it. Daniel, you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just really quickly regarding the operations. Obviously, with the QR code, it can eliminate lines. It eliminates a lot of human error, because it's actually the customer who makes the order, who pays for the order right there also. So you don't have those issues there. Potentially, one of the first reasons why QR codes came into the restaurant business was to lower staffing costs in QSR and fast casual and so forth, especially in the states that have the very high minimum wages, like California, that area there, and San Francisco, where the restaurant business is taking a hit. But if the restaurant, they could also improve their service. So if they could utilize their waiters in different ways than just taking the initial order, but maybe they could increase their customer interaction and so forth. So in terms of operations, it's I could give many examples, but as you said, we only have 1 hour, so I don't want to take it out.
Well, Dale, it's also cutting down on the cost of print, right? So printing menus. Now instead of printing the menu, you have a change, or you make a mistake, and then you have to reprint all the menus.
Yep.
Now it's electronic. You make the change. It's immediate. If there's a special that the chef or F&B manager wants to put on, they could do that right away. But there was a question on the in the chat about what about hotels that don't have any tech or have low tech in there. So for those, you have reprinting, because as soon as they touch the menu, you're throwing it out and reprinting. So there's a printing charge or fee that goes with that, with operating. We've been talking about pay at the table for years in order to be PCI compliant. Europe has been ahead of us by years because of the whole PCI compliance being chip and pin. We're just getting there. We're starting to see that now, and I mean, but this is Europe has been doing this for years, where they bring the device to the table. Your credit card never leaves your hand.
Right.
Now I don't even take my credit card out. I just use my Apple Pay or just
Yeah, or
just
Google Wallet
online payment.
using NFC.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Can I
it
add
is.
to? Oh, I'm
Absolutely, Shannon.
sorry, Dale.
No.
I
I
was
was just agreeing with Ruben. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I would just add as well that for hotels that don't have technology, there is a big risk as we move ahead that they may be seen as unsafe or not implementing standards, because just like after 9/11, the changes with the TSA, those were changes for our safety, but they're still around this many years after. So many of these changes are going to be permanent. And I think those hotels that aren't looking to see what other people are doing may be considered not as safe as those hotels that are taking up the new technology and being able to provide a safe atmosphere for their employees and for their guests. And it's also a marketing opportunity as well to be able to get your hotel out there and say, this is what we're doing in order to make our environment safe, because we need to encourage an atmosphere where people want to start traveling again and they feel safe to do so, and they're going to choose those locations that have methods in place.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Now, before I get to our last question, I'm going to ask some of the questions that we have here, because my final question to you is really and truly your end all be all opinion with where you think we're going. So I have some questions here that were asked. The first one is from Matt Pocock here. Do you think hotels are worried at all about Grubhub-like services cannibalizing revenue from on-site amenities like room service and bars? As Wendy's nodding her head, she knows absolutely, right?
I can jump in there from a hotel perspective, because I know our hotel was looking for ways in Las Vegas to be able to have the perception that they were a Grubhub or an outside vendor. And they actually loaded on the in-room dining order from Joe's Pizza, but it was actually one of our restaurants that was making the pizza, and they were going up in a different outfit in order to deliver it. So I do think that hotels are getting very creative on trying to provide that experience, because they can see the writing on the wall, and they can see the Grubhub drivers coming up and abandoning their vehicles on the porte-cochere while they're running in to deliver the food. So I do think that's a reality.
If I may add, Shannon, that's also Ghost Kitchen or Cloud Kitchen is coming. Whether you like it or not, they're coming. They're coming to a hotel. They're coming everywhere. So it's coming.
Get with it, right? You got to get with it. Awesome. Well, thank you. I have another question here and this is more on the hotel side, from Sylvia Prado. Do you know of any air purification technologies that are being installed in hotel properties, and where do you see this tying in with IoT, the Internet of Things? Shannon, I see you unmuted.
Well, I can jump in regards to the hotel perspective. I know that there's an enormous push in the hotel space for stay wellness programs, or even more healthy programs. And some of those do include HEPA filters and really being concerned about the air that the guests are breathing. And I think even more so now, we're going to find in our business and even in commercial buildings and in schools that the air purification is going to be an enormous factor, especially with the pandemic. So, but on top of that, I think there's an opportunity that we're just creating a safer, more well environment for our guests. And that comes with not only air purification, but sanitization. And I've seen different products like robots that spray sanitization in guest rooms in order to make sure that they're safe, not only from the prior guest, but from the person that cleans the room. So I do see that movement. I don't necessarily see it as a stationary sanitization, but I see it towards a movement towards wellness in general.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. I have another question here from Jose Gutierrez. Bluetooth GPS apps are being used in large hospital campuses for wayfinding, and they're helping visitors and patients find their medical office. I guess it's just a statement that he said here. They're using, Bluetooth and GPS in the hospital to help with, I'm guessing, with contact tracing and so forth, which is.
Now, you had mentioned Beacon Technology. I have a client, a club in Boca Raton that has membership, and what they're implementing right now as Beacon Technology to avoid having the member to take out their membership card, hand it over, scan it. So what happens is that the beacon technology will detect when they're on site. If it's a reservation at the restaurant, it'll let the host know that their party has arrived, and allow for less contact. Obviously, there's been some challenges with the beacon technology because of the Apple iOS securities that have come out to play. So a lot of that has to the end user has to allow some of those functions to work. But it is being used, the beacon technology, the Bluetooth, the GPS. I have seen that in the club environment, and even as you mentioned, the target marketing. But yes, that's definitely helping a lot with the touchless or contactless environment.
And I think that when you're using it in those methods, that it is very helpful, like being present in an environment. When I think it goes towards contact tracing, you really need to have new beacon technology that can not only sense presence, but also proximity, duration, and frequency, if you're looking to be able to use it in different ways. I mean, the really granular analytics is really what you need in order to take it further and create a safer environment. But I agree. I think that beacon technology, Bluetooth technology, you're seeing it as well when you're tracking items in your hotel, like rollaways or fridges, and they're on some floor, but you don't know where they are. So there's a lot of great uses for the technology in our business.
Dale, I don't know if you know, but Lavu is actually being used in the Apple campus before, all over the world. And we actually, beacon technology is not new either. It's been around for, I don't know, however long, 10 years since we started our system. But right now, what's crazy it is I think it's going to propel that technology too. We are actually in discussion again with Apple, which obviously, please don't get it out there, where they want to even to make it way more seamless. So basically, when people come into, say, like you going to Apple headquarters and Infinity Loop or the spaceship, they have tour buses now. People just want to see it.
Right.
Now, how do you, they don't want you to even scan anything. No scanning. They said, I don't want people to scan. If you're an iPhone user, it would just pop up a link, say, hey, do you want to buy something? Do you want to buy lunch? You want to buy store stuff? So you don't even need, it just a push notification saying, hey, we know you're here, please buy something, instead of staying in line, scanning something again. So that's how they want to utilize it. I think this is going to be utilized more and more. It's just way, technology, we don't get to the point yet where it's becoming, like I say, maybe in your brain later on, just like, hey, when you walk out somewhere, you just say yes or no. That's it. That's all you do.
Right.
Yes or no.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's, like you said, it's been out for a long time. All right. We have one more question before I ask my final question for you guys. And this comes from Yvonne Yamor, our own Yvonne. With the emergence of IoT, the Internet of Things, what are hotels, restaurants, and other businesses doing to ensure cybersecurity and to make sure the guest information isn't stored or used by others?
I can start this one off. I know that when we travel, most people bring their own content with them, whether it be Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, you name it, Hulu, plug for or Disney for the Mandalorian starting this week. But what happens is that you can either cast onto the TV, but if you're using a smart TV where you're logging in with your credentials, the system is smart enough to interface when you check out to wipe that and basically refresh the system. So when you leave, it's ready for the next guest to come in and for their use as well. So as it relates to signing in, there is technology in place that addresses that. I think that's one part of the cybersecurity part in the guest room. I don't know, Andy or Shannon, if you wanted to add to that.
The guest room
I
experience.
can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can jump in. It's really important that we're making sure that our employee information is safe, our guest information is safe. I think we've all seen the news where companies have been infiltrated and their information is out there. So I think that companies are making this their top priority. I know for us, we don't put any information on our devices. It's all, double encrypted in order for it to be accessed by only the right people. You have to put those steps in place if we're going to be using data, like Andy said, in order to open up the freedom of what we're doing. And that's the direction we're moving in. We're slowly unlocking the data that is being collected in order to make a more seamless experience. And I think, especially in this environment, we have to be open to giving up a little bit of privacy in order to get flexibility and a seamless experience. However, that being said, things like payment methods, those things need to be protected and encrypted and dealt with very carefully. And I'm not on a hotel IT side. I know Ruben is, and he could probably speak better to exactly what hotels are doing to protect that.
Well, on the credit card side, we're using the chip-enabled devices, so it tokenizes it. So you have point-to-point encryption, and that removes the credit card from previously being stored on-premise to now being tokenized and then encrypted. So when sent off, it gets decrypted on the other end. That is one method. Now, if you are a hotel or a restaurant and you don't have a chip-enabled device, shame on you. At this point, we should have that now. But if you can believe it, there are hotels and restaurants that don't have that technology. So they're still swiping. So that leads to chargebacks, that leads to a whole myriad of issues besides PCI compliance, besides cybersecurity. That just opens up Pandora's box for a big mess. So if you're a low tech, there was someone who asked a question about low tech. If you're low tech, please don't let that be your low tech point of failure.
Right.
What I completely agree to what Ruben's saying. However, I think one additional thing to that is actually, bottom line, don't work with a company that still have a server in their closet. Do not do that ever. We have our. You have to work with a company that, actually have their architect reviewed by, say, Amazon or Apple or some big company, because just like the encryption point, you can also encrypt just credit card payment online. Right now has to be completely tokenized. Like, you cannot just type in credit card. That should not happen. It should go to Apple. It should go to Google Pay. And if you implement something on your software, it should be tokenized to a payment processor such as Square or PayPal or whatnot. That whoever your payment processor is, you do not want to do a PCI compliance in-house ever. So yeah, it's just a matter of security. It's very crucial, right? So and anywhere you go right now, especially when you're browsing online, you're gonna get tracked no matter what. It's just how much you want to give to the company, how much information you want to give out. That's it, really.
Right. Absolutely. No, thank you. All right, final question for all three of you, since we're running up on time now. So in your view, what does the next 12 to 24 months look like in the industry? What should hoteliers and restaurateurs keep in mind? Anyone wants to hit that question first?
Well, I'll jump in. Again, I think that some changes are here to stay. I think the sanitization, I think the touchless service, I think our culture in hotels is shifting. I think what we need to get really good at, though, when we're going to be doing more touchless, is making sure that we are inserting our personalization of service and looking for new ways in order to amaze our guests when they're coming to our properties. Because wearing masks, you can't necessarily see people smile. So we have to come up with new ways of making our guests feel wanted and comfortable in the environment and safe.
Thank you.
Dale, if I would have known 12 months ago to predict what's going to happen in the next 12, 24 months, I would have stocked up on toilet paper. I don't know. But I couldn't tell you over the next 12 to 24 months. I agree with Shannon. I think that a lot of technology is here to stay. But it brought upon us awareness. I think it brought upon awareness so much about now when I wash my hands, it is 20 seconds minimum, right? So now my Apple Watch reminds me, it starts a counter. I get home and it says, hey, you just arrived, wash your hand. So I'm more aware of my sanitation, of my hygiene And not that I felt like I had bad hygiene, but we could all improve and make sure that I'm taking my vitamins. But technology-wise, as it relates to the hotel, I see, I alluded to this earlier today that, when I look at the customer of the future, I look to our children and what are they doing. My wife brought up a point over breakfast this morning as to, we try to guess what our guest preferences are so that we can wow them with giving them their favorite drink in their room or something. My wife said it's all about the influencers. You go to social media. If you want to know what to get your kids for Christmas, look at what they're looking on social media as far as the influencers, and that's what they want. So we have to look how we can leverage all of that information, because we have so much information. How do we do that to deliver a guest service experience in this era of touch, high tech, low tech? We can still deliver service. We just got to be creative about it.
It's all about hyper personalization, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Andy, your final thoughts?
I agree with Ruben. The idea is, how do you utilize technology, but with humanity, right? So basically, all this privacy, all these things that you cannot do previously, now what were you not reminded to do? Now you're actually doing it, and you're gonna get familiar with it. People cannot use flip phone anymore, man. This is crazy. Are you using flip phone? You're gonna be completely left in the dust. Like, are you nuts? You cannot do that.
Hey, did you see that they just announced a new flip phone for Samsung?
Yes, they did. They did.
A flip with a
foldable, yeah.
Yeah, that's different. Anyway, technology is gonna stay. It's gonna keep evolving, but I think you just have to adapt to it, and there's gonna be a reminder everywhere that you better get on board, or you're gonna left behind. So either that being the customer or the merchant itself, right? The hotel, the restaurant industry. They all have to keep up.
Thank you. Well, that kind of concludes the webinar. Wendy, would you like to say anything before I guess we sign off? Thank you again, Shannon, Andy, Ruben, and thank you, Daniel, as well.
No, I mean, it was great. It was really, I remember we had Savioki, remember like 6 years ago at an event for the first time. And I agree with what Shannon said. I mean, I do think what we're seeing just in the perspective of the hoteliers' minds is really, thoughtfulness, just because we've all been through it. Everybody's been through the same thing, safe, comfortable, nice feeling. And I think we're going to see some really nice service come out of that, and a lot of different hotel brands come out, with like smaller, like more comfortable and safe, So I think the technology, I remember it was chaotic for me like 15 years ago. I think I'm trying to think, what? No, this is crazy. So now I think technology has matured very nicely, right? So whatever, and I've known Ruben for years, and he's always just been so like, targeted and right on about everything, that we have to live with it. And I think we're going to ease into it. I think I feel much better now than I did 15 years ago. Does that make sense? Because it was just so crazy, robots everywhere, and just some weird stuff. I think it's really, but definitely don't rip off. We hope they don't rip off our hotels, because they've got a 2-year. I think Daniel, everybody will agree, it's going to be a long process to get back to where we really want to be and get all of our employees back to work. So whatever we can do to help that, I think this was great. Everybody was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Before we left, just so you guys know, before I left, see, I have a QR code here that you can scan so you can get my contact. Anyway.
There you go.
It's just a flip of phone. It's on my screen and on the phone. See, I can just like, oh, you want my contact? Here we go.
There you go. Scan it. Done.
Exactly. Pull your camera. Boom. You're done. Anyway.
Done. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you for the next one in November.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you.